fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Guru Show here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Deku. And well, he has gotten his hands on a quirk-destroying bullet. He brought back in a pack of 10 that he got from Overhaul by saving him. Overhaul, he wants to do business with the Meta Liberation Army heading forwards. He doesn't really care who buys the bullets, as long as somebody does. And the fact that they were able to get a jump on it before the villains did was pretty big. Now, with that being said, Deku did learn how exactly these bullets were manufactured by Ida, who was there with the heroes when they broke into this warehouse, and Deku and Bakugo had a rematch. Now, with all that being said, Deku, he does currently sit at the edge of his bed, as he does at least have this bullet in his hand. It's crazy to think about. The entire idea of this little thing in his hand is to destroy what a person can be. You take away the thing their entire life they've either wanted to use or they've had. You take a part of their identity away. That's what this little thing in his hand can do. And then there's, well, this plan he does have. His plan. It's barely a plan at all. He's used to things being more planned out than this. All he really does have is inject Redestro and, well, go on to take down Overhaul. And then there's the fact that he wants to save Eri. That's this kid's name. Overhaul, he's done too much to her. Now, Deku does look back to Todoroki, as it's been about 2 weeks. Deku's gotten more and more, well, taken seriously by the people sitting at Redestro's table. The fact is, Deku's taken out nearly 20% of the overall operation. The factories that All for One does have, they're being taken down. And even then, from what Deku's told Redestro, the heroes are actually working with them. They're getting information from somebody on the inside. And Deku's then turning around with that information and handing it off to heroes. Now, this was actually seen as very tactful. From what they understand, this guy's had a mole. And that mole's been there since the very beginning of this war. So it's hard not to take it seriously. And then there's the fact that he got their quirk-destroying bullets, destroyed a fifth of the operation, and has pro-heroes working with him. Already, Deku's done more for the army than Redestro. He might be their leader, but that's only in title, not in actions, like what Deku's been doing. And people, they actually are starting to turn to him for more and more leadership. And Redestro, he actually has somewhat seen this. The fact is, his people aren't really looking at him that seriously anymore. He's used words to keep them on his side, but whenever the time comes for action, or anything more to be done with the plan, people turn towards Takami. Now, Deku, he actually has like this influence. he's starting to get the members of the table onto his side. Don't get him wrong, they only look at him as a pawn. But the fact is, Deku, he's had more and more ideas. And there are actions where he does have one. Redestro, he's willing to pay the money. They were able to come down to a price that's pretty simple. Overhaul, he highballed his price tag. And after learning exactly how much money Redestro does have, he's at least made him a bit of a deal. He will win the war, but the overall price of it will be a lot higher than 500 million. He's rounded down what he'll sell a case of bullets for to at least $5 to $10 million. Now, that does mean quite a bit of things. They'll have almost 1,000 rounds, meaning that they can take out the people who would actually be real threats to them first. Now, Deku, he does like this idea. However, he can tell that All For One might make a move very soon, so they should be the ones to do this. As we do actually have where Deku, he does actually sit down at a meeting today with just these three. Now, Deku, Overhaul, and Redestro. All three of them are sitting down at this fairly large table and talking. And Deku's very confused. As Redestro, he does actually point out something to Deku. He does point out that they are going to be making an assault soon. And Deku's very confused and surprised, as he does ask Redestro what this might be on. And Redestro, he actually does want to at least start making a move on a certain sector of All For One's territory. And if they do make a move there, they'll at least have a power advantage. Now, Deku, he's very concerned by this. They're making moves now. Then Redestro, he does at least try to inform Deku. Very soon, they'll be making moves. And he does wish for Deku to be one of the men who do lead the charge. And this actually does catch Deku not by surprise, but actually it does satisfy his answer with the single question he's had. Redestro, he doesn't like him. He knows Deku's somewhat of a loose cannon. However, at the same time, that loose cannon has given the edge in many things. And if this boy does decide to go against him, then it will be a massive problem. He knows that already enough, Deku, he has voiced some complaints about leadership. Now, as Deku is sitting at the table, he does at least go to reach his hand into his pocket, holding onto that quirk-destroying bullet that he does have. Out of both of these two, which quirk is more dangerous to take on? He would guess Overhaul's. So if he does use this method and take him down, he can save the young girl. Then, he could try to use her as a bargaining chip. Now, Deku, it doesn't feel right in his gut. He could use her, but he won't actually give them to her. If they know he has Eri, then he can take over both operations. He can see exactly what can be done with everything else. Now, Deku, as everyone does stand and leave, he is staying there with Redestro. And he does at least talk to the man. As Redestro, he is staying there looking out the window. And he is just thinking, very soon, their plans will be put into action. It will be a few months. The heroes, if they wear down the operations enough to halfway, Then they can sweep in, deploy in the most heavily packed centers, deploy in places where all for one would happen to be. And with thousands of Quark destroyers, they would be easy pickings. So they've done it. He's gotten the plan from start to finish. All they need to do now is this being where he does actually feel Deku's hand on his shoulder. And he does actually go to turn to see Deku, as he does actually stare down at the boy. As Deku does ask Redestro if he believes in a sort of destiny. Deku going to bring his hand off of his shoulder, as Deku does let his wings stretch out behind him. Young man, what do you speak of? Well, I'm just curious. Now, Deku he does get things ready. The bullet is right in his left hand, and all he needs to do is shove a needle into this man's neck, or even just pick him with it. Well, I would like to believe in destiny, yes. The fact is, you coming along was very good. Then, people, they just seem to flock to us. With the fact that you are here, and the fact that people, they do have no more reason to trust in heroes. They're aware of the fact that things need to be taken care of by themselves. So, in a way, the entire scenario I've seen unfold here, these past 5 years, it does seem like they will not be wasted. By the way, how is your, well, girlfriend? That's an oddly personal question. I'm aware. I have heard some rumors, and I was actually hoping to know if it was true. You're going to have a son, a daughter? Well, I don't know. It's too early to check, but I want to get this war done with. The world they are going to be born into, I don't want it to be one that is full of mayhem. I see. An admirable quality. However, the way this is all going as planned, by the time your child is born, will at least be close to done. Now, Deku, he does hear that word, close to done. What do you mean? It still takes more planning, and it takes more funding. Because of Overhaul, we'll be down for a lot of money. However, I do believe that we'll be alright. In the long run, the war should end in a year and a half. Now, Deku, he does hear that. A year and a half? Now, Deku, he's sick and tired of it, as he does tell Redestro that that is not a good idea. Now, Redestro, as he does get to turn to Deku and open his mouth, Deku, he immediately does pull out the Quark Destroyer, as he does jam it directly upwards and into Redestro's neck. And Redestro, he does actually go to step backwards, going to bring up his hand, trying to pull this thing out, and go to throw it towards the ground. Now, Redestro, he does just stand there, after a sudden, jolt to his body, as he's going to bring up his hand and grab his neck before going to actually try to reach out and use his quirk. Now, as that actually does happen, Redestro, yeah, he isn't doing so good. And there actually is Deku, who he does get to do one thing. He does kill Redestro, then and there, not allowing him to talk or even use some words. As that does happen, Deku, he does go to try and do one thing. He repaints a scene. As some time does pass, and suddenly Deku, he does come across Redestro's body. And it was quite a thing to behold. People, they were very concerned, and others, they were quick to try and point out accusations. as you do have many of the people who do sit on the table for Redestro, the man with the ability to create dolls out of things, the guy with the ice quirk, and a few other people. As people, they do want to point blame towards Deku, and Deku, he is just sitting there at the other end of the table looking at everybody. As many of them, they do hear Deku's next few words. Deku claiming that it had to be Overhaul. What are you talking about? Look at him. The way his body is. He's not covered with his quirk. And then there's the fact that his quirk, well, look. People actually watching as Deku, he does get to bring up one little thing. As Deku does tell everyone that these are the quirk destroying bullets, and it was currently found in the office. This kind of surprising everybody. As Deku reveals to them that Overhaul, he killed Redestro after using a quirk destroyer. He didn't want things to be all bad. Redestro didn't agree to the amount of money he may have wanted. So he's going to take his business to All for One. And what they need to do currently is take down the Yakuza. If they do that, they can take the quirk destroyers for themselves. And they can actually even take him down and then go for All for One. Now, Deku, he does start to see people rally behind him, revealing to them that if All for One gets a hold of these things, then they're the next targets. And people do start to rally behind Deku. Now, we do cut to later that night, where Deku, he's currently standing on top of a podium. And he does at least have people standing behind him. Now, Deku, he does look down towards the Meta Liberation Army. And he does see everybody down there. And then he's up here. Deku informing all of them that earlier this evening, Redestro was murdered by a man named Overhaul. Now, everyone, they do sound quite surprised and horrified, as Deku, he does continue on, informing many of them that he's going to be taking over in his stead, since they need somebody who has experience with fighting and even tactics at the forefront of this. Now, many people are quite surprised, as Deku, he does start to give a speech. Him talking about how they all need to be liberated. They need to be aware that it is time to move against a threat they are facing. They need to face off against Overhaul and take him down. Afterwards, they can turn their attention to the war. Deku informing people that he knows that they've all been waiting for this, and that he does at least have an announcement to make. Deku, he reveals to everybody here that he is going to be a father, and that this is a sign from a higher power. Now, Deku talks about how, because of him being taken away and released, he's been brought back to the Meta Liberation Army to lead it. How else could you explain his sudden reappearance? And people, they actually start to chant and scream out for Deku, as it is revealed to them that they all need to escape their bird cages, or escape their cages and be free. Now, it's basically a spread your wings and go forth. As Deku, he does have his forces go for Overhaul. Now, with that being said, we do actually have over with Eri, where she is actually not doing too well. With the fact that she's been through this for an extra couple of years, it hasn't gone too good. Especially after what happened with Star Night-Eye and Mr. Lemillion. Now, Eri, she remembers that Lemillion was struck by a quirk-destroying bullet. And the fact that he got out of there was only because of the villains actually trying to take her. Then Overhaul turning his attention towards Toga, Mineta, and Dobby. Or Mr. Compress, I don't remember who that team was. Now, you guys remember that then the villains, they were pushed away by Overhaul. And the heroes, they were able to actually retreat. So, she doesn't feel like she's ever going to be saved. And she's somewhat given up on that simple idea, since it might as well just be a waste of time. As the door to her cell does open, an Overhaul he does walk in, informing Aerie that they're going to need to make more bullets. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.